day of this weekend. I know you want to share.
Hi, I'm Lauren Bowles from the Chicago office, and I'm so excited to be joining the podcast again. This takes the cake. I have one of my favorite vendors with me today. Her name's Julianne, and she owns the Luxe Dog Nanny, and I'm so excited for her to give a little bit about her background and how we met and both of our paths here in the industry. Hi, Julianne. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm so honored and to be able to do my first podcast with you. I'm a newbie, so be kind to me. But to do it with you is very fun because we've worked together a lot. So I'm excited.
Yes, we do. I remember our first wedding. It was at Montebello Estate. I was super impressed with how you connected with the client, their pup, and it's been ever since. Anytime a client wants to have their dog involved in their wedding day or event, you're my go-to because I know you just take extra good care of the couple and the pet. It's a process, right? And I'd love for you to kind of walk us through what that looks like.
I mean, number one, I have to make sure that when I'm with Lauren, I feel like you are so elegant, and I feel like when you walked in the first time, let's talk about that for a second. When we went at Montebello, we met I had Basil, right? So that wedding you're working on, and we physically met over the Chanel chair. That Basil was in a Chanel chair that the makeup artists were using. And we both kind of giggled just because I know you're a beauty girl and I come from the beauty industry. So it was kind of a perfect love right away. So it is a process though. And I think, I've been in business 8 years and almost actually 9. And, when I look back at the beginning, I'm still doing things that I pioneered at the beginning. They really are respectfully the same. But again, there's a whole new level of where I've grown to as a founder with my team and the experience that we do give to the client. It's exciting, and it's been exciting to showcase it. I mean, I was just at 4 meet and greets this past Saturday, and the first one I went to, I said to her, she's like, "Oh, is it windy out?" And I had a little bit of tear, and I'm like, "No, it's this moment for me. Of course, it's your wedding." But when I correspond with somebody, say for a year, or if they live out of town and they come in, when you meet them for the first time and you were hand selected to be a part, you're one of their, their most prestigious vendors. They're all prestigious, let me say that, but important because I have their baby and they're trusting me because, as we say in this business, everyone they love, Lauren, is at the wedding. So they have to generally choose someone outside of their family and friends that they've always leaned on for dog care. And it's an exciting responsibility, but the growth in the job is just really taking these weddings to what I want to say now is just the best experience we could possibly give to you, as you lead the event part of it, to the photographer, and of course this client. So we take that job very seriously, even though it's a dog in a tuxedo or a flowered collar. It's a big responsibility.
It's a big role, and there's a lot of variables that are, you have to control, and we have to control them with their animals too, right? So I know you're super trained, and you really, the pet whisperer. I shouldn't even say dog whisperer because you obviously, you work with different animals. What does the process look like? So I know look at vendors as an extension of myself. So I recommend vendors that I trust and that I know my couples can trust. And then I hand that over, I make that introduction, and I know you run with it, and building that relationship. So what does that look like? Because I feel like there's probably some listeners that sometimes we want our dog involved, but we're a little nervous. Maybe they're rambunctious, or how is it going to work? So would love to hear kind of how the plan, you put a plan in place to make it successful.
We do. That's a great question too, because it's the most important question in this role. I think when it's hand passed from you specifically, I would say I then reach out immediately to the client and see when their calendar permits for us to meet over the phone, and just to hear what the background of the fiance and the bride, or the bride and the groom and the groom, right? Whatever that vision looks like for our client, we want to bring that to real life. And so what I will say is, getting into the 800 ranges of weddings, there has never been 2 weddings that are ever the same. And
Yep.
so you really have to stand back and get to know these clients. I mean, I'm on social media with most of them. I'm watching them when they're private. If they let me into their world, I'm watching them and how they spend their day and their life. And I kind of get to know their rhythm, take the wedding vision, and then put all of that together. And so what I mean by that, there's religious backgrounds that go into these ceremonies. There is family members that, I have to actually, I get a list of really, like, we want to make sure we capture time with the pup and these family members. Friends, say a best friend flies in from college and maybe she's not standing up for the wedding. We really make sure we can try and have a minute with her to get a cute photo with her dog and have the photographer also get in there. So it's an umbrella of things to do, but I want to say the most important thing is to get to know this client and to know that dog. You cannot say that a dog maybe he's young and rambunctious. Well, you got to make sure you have start and stops for him because he's young and he's rambunctious, and we got to make sure we're really aware that he can't be in a 10-hour wedding span without a break or many breaks. And after time, you get a rhythm, and we do itineraries, and then we report back to you and to the photographer, and then we take your itinerary and we really maximize your vision because you've spent the most time with this client. And I take that itinerary that the planner supplies me with and really look at what the day looks like. And then I can actually massage my itinerary and yours together. So we hit the hot spots where you need to be. The dog is cared for in a safely, timely manner, and we can wow the client. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a pup in a wedding. We love to just wow them without any. We try and not have hiccups. We go around them with 8 years of experience. We've hit those. We've learned those hiccups, but just wow you and wow the photographer, and do those things that make this the best choice outside of the vendors they've chosen. Like, I'm one of those vendors, my team and I, and that's important to me. I mean, I put this on my website and your clients know it. I don't take any pay until after this wedding. That's how serious I am and focused I am on 5-star service, because they've never normally been with a dog chaperone before. So they don't really know what we do, and everyone's wedding's different. So it has been something our clients have really respected and said, I admire that you do that. And you really are focused on giving the best service, and we can render the services at the end. And so, yeah, it's an exciting job though. I mean, every day is exciting.
It's so rewarding,
Yeah.
and it's like so magical when it all comes to life just like the couple envisioned. And every time I've worked with you and our couple's pets, it's been amazing. Like, it gets me teary-eyed when the dog is running down the aisle, or just part of the photos. There's so many different ways that couples can incorporate their pets, and a lot of times this is their first baby, right? Because some have kids already, some may not, but like, this is kind of their baby together, that it's super important to have them incorporated in the day. And I think I've noticed couples can feel nervous about it because they want the day to go perfect. Then, they want the dog to be able to be there for photos. But, so I feel like you really help make that process just enjoyable. And like you said, the pictures is a big part of it. That's the memory from the day and having them there. How did you get started in all of this? Because I mean, it's such a niche spot in the wedding industry that's essential. So tell me, I would love to learn a little bit more how that you got started.
It's interesting background. I started in the TV business while I was in college doing makeup. And so I've always, the length of my career has really been in the beauty industry. I'm a beauty girl, artist by heart. That's truly, but I always had a passion for animals. There was never a time there I wasn't obviously passionate about animals. And then I went to Nordstrom for a long period of my career and did many jobs. Lived in Seattle and was a buyer, a minute store manager job, just did all different things. But I always had a beauty thread going in there outside of all these jobs. So I never really lost sight of being artistic, because I love that. Buying is another way to outlet your artistic ability. Absolutely. And then I went to Tom Ford Beauty, and I started traveling, and I had U.S., Canada, and I was opening doors all over Canada. And what a place, what a brand to work for, Tom Ford. And I did the beauty pillar.
That's incredible.
And I worked with incredible leaders that really, when you stand back in all of my jobs, there are big leaders that you actually pinch yourself in that room and say, like, how am I actually in this room? And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I still use everything that they've taught me to this minute. But then there was a minute where I just saw white space of I wanted to get pet businesses in hotels. It is nowhere to be found in the US. And as I'm excited to tell you this minute, we are still the only pet service on hotel websites for the amenity page. We launched in 2016, and in uniform, we would service animals when they checked in. I mean, we did a photo shoot. I mean, it was a really exciting moment. It was very emotional because this is finally my business, and I've always worked for family, the Nordstrom family, the Estee Lauder family. Like, most of my career has been for somebody else, but a family job, and always in service. I've always been in service and some portion of high touch service in a sense. And now I've encompassed all that in my own business. And Sean Raja is he is the one, and Catherine Day. They launched me at the Drake Hotel, and I did this out of the box presentation that they should still laugh about to this day. Dog, cupcakes, a clicker for my PDF. I mean, I just remember walking out of there, and Catherine Day, who is very, very she's got a great. They both have went different routes. She still works for Hilton. Sean Raja, as you know, was with the Drake and then the Lingham, and now he's an event planner. But these two people, they gave me my break. Everyone has, all my jobs have been given me, I've gotten a break. This was the big one. When Catherine Day pulled me in the hallway and she said, I don't even know how I'm going to sell this to somebody in my corporate office, but I can't not give you this shot. And then I will never forget that moment.
Well, you're passionate about what you do, and I feel like that comes through. And I think, your clients, the couples, their pets, they feel that. And that, I think that goes a long way. It really does. It's an emotional time. I mean, even like speaking weddings specifically, there's a lot of emotion there, right? So having someone that's passionate like yourself, I think people know will go that extra mile to make sure everything goes perfectly.
One more thing I just want to layer in too on top of exactly what you just said, because it's completely on point. Sean came to me and said, after we launched, can you do a wedding? I said, what do you mean? He's like, Christopher and Abigail, I'm still dear friends with them. I was texting them yesterday. They got married. They were our first client. And Guinness, their daughter, is a girl dog. We just recently lost her, which is why I got choked up thinking about her a minute ago. But she was the first dog. So I tell them all the time, I said, if the trajectory of her wasn't amazing in that job, my first dog, I wouldn't have went into weddings. I tell people all the time, don't get too caught up as an entrepreneur in one lane. You got to just go with what generally comes. Now, I'm not saying be a ping pong, but you got to really give a little bit. If you would tell me at this point in my life, I would be a dog chaperone. It's actually mind blowing to me. But, Guinness was in that wedding. Every part of that wedding, she went down the aisle, she had everything was perfect. Outside photos were perfect. Down the aisle, she posed in everything. And I told her parents, you ruined me. Now how can I not do this? And that was it. We took off after that Drake Hotel in Guinness. And, I was very lucky last year. I got another break. The two hosts of Chicago Today Show and NBC, they are magnificent. And they brought me on the show, and Guinness came on, and so all of our clients came on. We had 5 selected. It was very moving to see all of them, and Guinness was there. And we actually, she's probably gonna be mad at me in heaven one day when I have to see her again. She wore this gold cape. It looked like Liberace. It was so wrong that we did that to her. I still feel guilty, but she came on the show and she was the closer. But I forgot to mention something funny. When I got this job for Guinness, the parents came to me and they said, well, before we hire you, you have to meet her personal assistant. I'm like, wait, the dog is a personal assistant? They're like, Tom. Tom has been taking care of her. It's a friend of their family. And when I tell you, I had to set up a full meeting. I had to go there. He was studying me. He was telling me, asking me 1,000 questions. I'm like, if I pass this, I could get through anything, any type of questionnaire in life. And he said to me, you got the job. I'm going to give you this job, because he was actually part of the wedding. So Tom also was at NBC last year. He was cheering her on from the back. It was very neat to have
she had her whole team there.
Yeah. The camaraderie was real, So that's how we launched, Lauren. And now we are, many clients in, and many things that we do. I mean, me and you just did a wedding where, can I jump forward? Okay. So I went to one of our most recent ones. We've done a couple lately, but Nicole. And I went to Nicole's house, and, Andrew said, she's going down the aisle. and that was at the Armor House. And so the Armor House is outdoor. It's on Lake
Long
Forest
aisle.
Academy. It's long. It must be 120 feet. Don't quote me, but it's probably double to the. And I think they were like, well, Nicole's like, does she have a not $1,000 smile? Like, I mean,
Oh my God, she's gorgeous. The whole family's gorgeous.
I just want to frown next to her because I can't even like tap into that smile. I mean, it's like 1,000%. I love that family. And so he was like, no, she's going down the aisle. And so that day when I had to unleash her, I held my breath because I knew she could do it. I'm not afraid. But if she jumped, she would go into the pond. Like this but she went, and I've had a lot of dogs go down that aisle at that venue. She ran so fast that when I took the video from where I was standing, because her dad was waiting for her, it looks like I sped it up. Like people completely kept
she was running so fast.
I was so proud of her. Like this is like Olympics for us. Do you know what I mean? Like perfect rundown. The dad grabs her, we leash her, she poses for photos, and then doesn't want to leave.
I know, and like hung out, and she was great for photos before, and I loved watching Nicole because, you and I are working so closely together when a couple does, because there's different times where they want the dog part of the wedding, right? And one popular time is for the dog to go down the aisle. So, in that incident, we're trying to keep everything on time and flow perfectly, and we cue you. And I mean, and she went perfectly. And I looked back at Nicole, and she was, because she was next to come down the aisle, and just like seeing her face is what makes, like, that's what's so rewarding, right? It's because we're just bringing to life what they want. And it's just super special.
It is, because it's, when it all happens, and I don't say this in a way that it's not needed, but we don't ask for reviews anymore for our clients. I'd rather them spend, and I'm being sincere, on a dog walk. But let me tell you, the emails that we get and the personal the texts that we correspond for a period of time are more than I could express on this podcast, because those are truly what we built the business on. And we get so close to these clients because we're in their homes, we're in their suites. We have to learn pretty much everything about the dog's care, medical, where if it has moments where, you guys, we were talking the other day, you and I, if a dog were to get anxious, like what do you do? Maybe they're not going to be anxious and then they get to the venue and they're anxious. Like, how do we work with the animal? And a lot of that is preparatory work, which is what we do. This is how we get so close to these families. It's hard to just have the wedding and then say goodbye.
Like, what would you say is the most challenging part for you on wedding day?
Brace yourself, what I'm about to say.
Okay, I'm ready.
Are you ready? It's only really one thing.
What?
They have to go number 2. Listen to me. Our whole life changes when they go number 2. Anything else could be worked on. But if you're at the top of the Lowe's hotel and you're doing formal photos and he hasn't gone his morning, little routine, this is an ongoing process. And I was giggling the other day thinking about this when I was writing some notes down, that sometimes when the dog stays home with the dad, like if that's how their works out with mom, is that bridal suite. I have to tell you, there's maybe been 50 times where I had to text the dad and say, I go, good morning. Did he go number 2? I just need to know, like, because if I have that, I kind of know my whole schematic for the day. I could manage anything, but if we have any change in direction in that part of the life, that really can make it very intense, because can't go down the aisle that way. Is not going to have fun photos that way. And at the end of the day, it's the most important thing to a dog: eating, getting cookies, and obviously their walks and going, their little potty breaks. So number 2 is my big wish. I'll hit that as a buzzer, like on Family Feud. Well, gotta go number 2.
Gotta go number 2. Well, tell me, if you have to, give advice to any of couples that would want to incorporate, of course, having you as their partner and advisor, but what would you say would be the best piece of advice to tell couples, if they do want to have their dog or pet incorporated in their wedding day? Because I know sometimes they think about having a family member help. What would you recommend?
That is a great question, because I think everybody wants their dog. They want to be able to see, like, I've trained him. He's doing so great, but I worry that day he might be all over the place. But there's things that you do put in place, like in a bridal suite. You definitely keep a dog leashed, and not to change not every single dog, but the majority, because in a bridal suite, it is a very exciting moment. There's an energy that you feel in that bridal
Emotions are
suite.
high.
Yeah, and they're pulsing, but there's also chocolate on the table, and there's all
True.
the girls have stayed in maybe that room with them. There's things that a dog should never get navigate, and you are the personal assistant to that pup. So you have to really make sure you are helicoptering that moment in there. And I can tell that dogs know it. They know it's a different room. They're aware. They buzz
And
in
makes
that room.
sense. Yeah, dogs feel those emotions. They feel tension.
Yes.
Like, even though it's all exciting, good things, there's nervousness that morning, and I feel it, as a human being, and I know animals can feel that as well. I know one thing that I hear a lot too when I have those initial conversations about the client's vision and what's most important to them on wedding day. Couples that have a pet often want to incorporate them. And one of the things I hear a lot from the bride is, oh, I just don't want, let's say the dog to jump on my dress, or which is an understand, like I would say like a valid concern, right? Because, and I've never seen, all dogs have different personalities, but you've done a wonderful job. I've never seen the dog jump on the dress.
And I agree with that about the dress, because there's beading, there's detail, there's satin, there's lace. But in that moment, I hope, when you are working, if anyone is in this role, you're really taking the logistics of what part the dog's going to go in. So
True.
why I say that is, if he's got to go down the aisle, and the grooms can say they do their vows, and he's going to go down the aisle, the groom, you would also work with the groom and say, step in front of the bride, let her step back, so you can get him or her, and we clip them. So there's just logistics of when you try and help in those moments, but it's also guiding the client. Sometimes they have a cute little. We just had someone named Luther went down the aisle. His Muppet arms, I'm telling you, I've never seen Muppet arms like in his little arms. And he went down with a friend of theirs, and his little Muppet arms. We had like 1,000 replies just posting, because he's so animated with he was looking around at people. He looked at people. He really looked like he understood he got the memo.
Yeah.
Look at everybody and smile. And so meeting him, you learn that, and you encourage the parents, hopefully, to take, maybe some aren't going to go down the aisle. Once you meet that pup, you can generally see what's best for them.
For sure.
And I think with the bridal part too, what's even alongside that is we have weather increments here. So, just about 2 weeks ago, I did a wedding with a pure white dog, and I had to say to the photographer and the planner, I got to step out for a minute because I have to go blow out his feet. And me and my team took him in the bathroom, and we are prepared. We had to wash all 4 feet and blow them out. We have a mini hair dryer, because the minute he goes in photos, he can't have wet hair in a photo. If it happens, it happens. If it's an outdoor wedding and we go there, we go there. But we didn't want to go there. So we blew out the feet really quick. You're never thinking about that when you start this job, that you are now going to blow out feet pretty much your whole career. I
didn't even know that term.
I'm like a hairstylist with the Muppet ears. But see, that's a part of a dress. It's white, and you can never have wet feet around. There's so many.
I know that's
I'm going to speak for all dog chaperone companies, and everyone knows this job, and I would never normally do that. It is, I don't want to come off that it's a super hard job, but I promise you, from the bottom of my heart, there are so many small details that people don't even know we do, and they do, and it's so much detail because this is a wedding.
Have you ever had a wedding? I mean, every wedding I've worked with you, it's been seamless and the pets have been a joy. Have you ever had a wedding where things didn't go as planned, or the pet just didn't cooperate?
Well, that's an interesting question. It's very loaded, but I don't know if it went wrong, but I definitely think it's very rare. So we just did a wedding, and an outdoor wedding, and it was very glamorous, and it could have gone wrong, and I'm going to tell you why. And I'd never experienced this before, and I never really heard this before. So there was no training, is what I'm trying to say. So the Dakota, her name is, she went down the aisle and up, and she went up into, there was like a glass carriage where they did their vows, and they did their entire wedding. It was stunning. Well, on the premises of where they got married, there's outdoor pets that wander around, and we were aware of this. There was no, we obviously have to be aware of these things. We scout the location, we go to the location. We were aware, but they generally don't come out at this time. From what I was told, it's a peacock. So let's just get to the animal first. So this peacock, all of a sudden, while they're doing their vows in the middle, he just starts wandering, like walking around, doing his whole dance routine and throwing his feathers up everywhere. I mean, really, it was very, of course, when I'm watching this, I'm like, I see Dakota, and she's not even phased.
No?
Looking, and
Like,
she's looking at me, and I'm kind of doing an outside scope of where I'm not in the lens of any of these cameras for obvious reasons. But I'm ready to go, and she's leashed, and she has her collar on. There's no her getting anywhere. But then she turned her whole body and was like, "I see you, and you see me now." And they started to not get too close. But there is out of the blue last week, the amazing client said, "I forgot to send these to you, these photos," and I opened them up. I'm like, "Oh my god." It is all the peacock pictures, and
oh
which I'm
my
going to show.
gosh.
But I wanted to tell you guys this first because it's such an amazing story. First of all, peacocks in person are unbelievable, and I don't know if everyone has seen one, but they also cackle very loud. I mean, they have a whole. It is if you haven't heard one. I mean, it is a whole thing, is what I'm going to say. I mean, you think a dog barking could be strong? A peacock is, for as beautiful as they are, they didn't get a good voice. Is where I'm going.
Really? So was she like he or she performing in a way? Just kind of
Yeah, she was kind of doing a dance routine, like a rockette kind of deal. Like, I am here and I'm going to throw it all around and put all my feathers up. And I had saw her earlier on a ledge, and I took a video of her, but I was not with the pup at that moment. I just stepped away from her. But this was different. This was on premise when the wedding was, in process, and, vows are happening. It actually was a very magical moment because I know you start to look at like how that could have went two ways, but to see them both be more interested in the other, but not flinch. So we departed shortly after that. But those photos, I'm going to put them up after this goes live because they're pretty amazing.
Oh my gosh, you have to see them.
Yeah. So a peacock is very different.
Well, I've heard of the term peacocking, so now I kind of get it. They really do go. Yeah.
Look at you, Lauren, a woman of all knowledge.
Well, I know you mentioned the importance of number two, for pets, and how it can affect the day. Well, I actually have a funny story I wanted to share with you because I had a client recently. It was a gorgeous Michigan wedding. They did not have any assistance with their dog, and so that they did ask me for help, which is, I'll wear a lot of hats, but I do have other things to manage, so it can take me away, from managing the vendor. So I did, but I love the client. I'm like, yes, absolutely, I'll take the dog back to the hotel. So I had to run and do that in the middle of cocktail hour because I had a very small window to get their pup safe. And I had to give them medicine and then get right back before dinner service so I can help cue, entrances and all of that. So I drive to the hotel. I have the animal with me. He's a cute older dog. I get him in the room, and I'm trying really hard to give him his medicine, but he won't take it from me. And I don't want to be forceful. And I'm just like trying to be gentle, but I'm like, okay, I have to go. I have to get to the reception. The vendors are calling me. So I'm kind of like following the dog around the hotel room, like, please take your treat. Like I kind of put the pill in a treat. Well, I didn't realize the dog went number two in the hotel room, and I stepped in it, and I'm now dragging number two all over the bridal suite as I'm trying to feed the dog its medicine. And I'm like, oh my gosh, so I'm scrubbing the floor, and I make it back. The dog finally takes medicine, goes to sleep, and then I can make it back to the reception in time. So that was like I think the craziest experience I've had with a pet, and it makes me think how it's so beneficial to have that extra help, like someone like yourself, because I was frantic, literally frantic.
Lauren, that needs to be a whole podcast by itself, that story. So really, like, you have done more in that 20 minutes in that room than I've done in 8 years.
I was so nervous. I was like literally like about to call you because I didn't know what I was going to do.
Well, when I first started in this job, I had a client who I'm very close to now. And I never told her the story, but I messaged her. She knows I'm going to share the story. And Chubbs is their dog, and he's an English bulldog. And he was in a gold. She had a seamstress create basically a Tom Ford gold sequin suit.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
Not fan of the weather. He does not like rain. So if it's going to rain, then you're going to pay. So you just better be ready. So we get, and he likes the car. I had him on car rides. He's fine. I picked him up at the home. He's sitting there with me. He's great. We're like in the car listening. Me and the bride are obsessed with Celine Dion, by the way. Like when I say obsessed, like She wants to have her daughter that name. I want to have a dog next with that name. Like,
I
we
love
send
that.
things back and forth. So he's listening to Celine Dion in the car because I basically knew that his mom does that. So now I'm doing that. We get there, and then this is a very, very beautiful wedding where I'm going. And I pick them. They're all beautiful. But I go to pick him up, and he projectiles on me. All over my face, all over my hair, all over my clothes. I have a suit on, everything. And the most important part I want to hit here is my face. It hit my face. It was projectile.
And this is right before the ceremony.
We're going into the ceremony.
Going into ceremony. Okay.
So we always bring change of clothes. Those are all non-negotiables in life of what we do, and all of those things. But at the end of the day, once someone throws up on you, you are always going to smell like throw up. There's nothing is ever leaving. It's like on your shoe, it's not what you had.
Yes.
You're always walking around going, do they smell it?
Do I smell?
How can you not? You're walking around. So that is what, after I cleaned up, I got ready. I had a little bit of confidence. I did good, but not a lot. I was at a 70-30, like 70, I'm in trouble, 30, I cleaned up. So this isn't a good ratio. These are definitely not the numbers I want to deal with. But when I go in, every time I walk up, someone like, I was smiling, but I'm like, they smell puke. They definitely smell puke. They smell puke so bad. And I'm like, and he went down the aisle, and I swear, I put him on social media a million times because he's so funny. He waddled down, and his mom, all she ever said to me was, that was a Super Bowl handoff. That's a Super Bowl, because he waddles down with their good friend in a gold lame suit, English gold. He's got the little shoulders like a linebacker going all the way. And then he had passed it to me, and it really was a handoff like we were in the Olympics. But I'm like, someday I'm going to share with her
what happened.
That she really taught me, not only do I need all the other, but I might have to blow up my own hair in the car. So, yes, those things happen, and they're so memorable because to be this close to her, and it's like, I think that would have been 6 years ago. But I do have a bigger story. Not a bigger story, but can I share another story that changed my life?
I would love that.
It was an unexpected couple years ago. My own personal pup was sick, and we were dealing with her medical care. And I really had a short window where I was really caring for her, but I was not doing. My team was doing weddings, right? So I get a call from a client, Shannon. Her name is Shannon, and she says we have a unique wedding coming up, and it's rare. Two little rare things in the wedding. I'm like, oh no, here's going to be my breakup, like a cat, Yeah. And she's like, no, it's not a cat. It's a dog, a rescue dog, and Kylie, and then it's a turtle. And so I'm like, turtle? So
you wanted the turtle there?
It was a turtle. And so this story is magnificent. So I go to meet them, and, they wanted to make sure that I could do this job. I also reach out to resources when I have questions about animals with medical conditions too, with vets I speak to, just so I could understand the process of a dog being in this situation. So I did reach out about turtles. I had turtles when I was younger, and excuse me, actually in my 20s, not youngers. And I wanted to know how long can they be out of water. Like, I need to know all the logistics. Okay, well, we're set up for success now. We go to the wedding, but let's say this about the groom. His name is Paul. He was 8 years old when he got this turtle, and he named her Colors. Did not know if she was a girl or boy turtle, and he brought her to college. She stayed with him until he met Shannon on his first date, and Paul told her about Colors. Like, you have to know that I have this turtle because this is a lifelong commitment. Turtle is now, she's 26, I think almost 27, going on 27 years old.
Wow.
And so they wanted her in the wedding. So I proceed. We've got the rescue dog and we've got the turtle. Well, their vision, again, we're talking about vision, is for her to be there. And he knew, they told nobody. Yep, he told nobody, but they knew people were going to know she was probably going to be there. And she starts walking, and they have a videographer, amazing videographer team there, are amazing, doing their job. Well, I pulled my iPhone out and just emailed her walking a little bit, and she hooks a left because she must have saw the greenery on the ground. No,
yeah.
He toward her. He starts walking towards me, and I have him on film, and then he puts his hand down, and she runs right into his hand. And so he takes her back up, and then I'm talking, this is very fast.
Right.
In 20 minutes, we were gone. We were in the car. She's back in water, and I'm en route to go home. So I don't think anything of it. I have a brand new TikTok page because I'm a new TikToker at the time. And I put her on there, and I put her onto the Free Willy song. Well, overnight, there was like 1 million views, and then another 1 million views. Like, it just started escalating because she's the first flower girl turtle to go down the aisle. So I have to warn the parents, like, hey, I just want you to know, and they're en route to a safari, and for their honeymoon,
For their
and
honeymoon.
they were so excited. And then the dodo reaches out. So in my world, that's the Academy Awards. I mean, that is Caitlin, one of the
Big
writers,
time.
reached out and just said, we'd love to write this story. Of course, I parlay that back to the parents. I'm part of this story. I'm only the pet, turtle chaperone. But it really went back. I wanted the family to tell their story because it's such a magnificent, story.
It's
And
incredible.
it went in a lot of different places. Went on the dodo. I mean, I think after my TikTok got hacked, let's talk about that as well. That it was so important. We had to start a new TikTok page.
Really?
But it did. It was that important, the little turtle. But she went on Fox News and showed it on all these different outlets that Paul and Shannon were communicating with and telling their story. But it was wonderful. It really was. I mean, the turtle went to college with him.
It's so unique. I mean, so how big is this turtle?
Colors is not, I want to say this big.
Okay.
But she's got a really good sized tank. I'm actually going to go see them because they have a brand new baby. We were communicating a little bit ago. And so now they have a turtle, a new baby, and they're a rescue. And so cute little family.
Their family's expanding.
Yeah, they made a little mark in the world with their turtle and rescue story.
The turtle's famous. Well, your titles, your company name is the Luxe Dog Nanny, but it sounds like there are a lot of other pets and other services that you do on wedding day. Is that, are there other things that you want to let the viewers be aware of?
That's an excellent question. So a lot of times when we go to the home after a wedding, or we take care of the pups, but say that the mother's dog isn't in the wedding but might be at the home, or generally there's a lot of cats as well. We also take care of them even if they're not in the wedding process. We obviously do that complimentary. But in that view, any pet in the home, we always would add to the itinerary of taking care of them, but those are complimentary from us.
Because that's so nice that you do that.
Yeah, oh, of course. And generally there is another family pet all the time in some capacity. If they're animal lovers, they all have animals in some way. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like when I was helping with the pet, there was another dog there because it was the parents' dog. When a family loves animals, it's all around. So it's wonderful that you offer
to hire
that.
You now. I think we need to hire you. You can wear these elegant
I didn't do a good job. I didn't. I was so frantic, scrubbing number 2 off the ground. And I literally, the rest of the wedding, I was like, do I smell? I was so nervous.
You can never put perfume over any of those moments. It's not going to work for you. Especially the way you look. I'm like, once I do this podcast, my clients won't even recognize me on here. My hair it looks like curled. I'm always in the trenches with the pup. You just try and look like you could run at any time. If you have to run, you got to be ready to look wedding ready, running ready. Those two have to be together.
It's a tight timeline. I know, because it's like, photographers need to stay on a tight timeline for the photos they need to capture. Planner wants to start on time for ceremony. So you're working, you have your own timeline. You're working hard, to make these special moments happen. What would you say is the most rewarding part of being a dog nanny and helping with your couple's pet?
I could probably talk for 20 years for that question, but I won't. I really think it's just seeing the wedding day happen and how happy it makes our clients and you and the photographer. And I think a couple of years ago, it was maybe 3 years ago, I turned a corner in my business where I just woke up one day and the photographers or planners like you would reach out to me, and the photographers would say, Julianne, what do you think of this? If you go and I realized in that moment that it's a different level of trust when you're at that place when you can't buy that trust, and you got to earn that trust, and you got to earn that trust with time and them seeing you work. And I'm going to mention somebody off the cuff, Ken Drake. I just worked with him, and I worked with him early in my career, and I just worked with him on a wedding and at the Exmoor Country Club in Highland Park. And I was leaving the venue, and he's like, Julianne, come here. In the middle of how busy he was, he goes, come over here. I want to take a photo of you with the dog, with Cooper. I want a photo of you. And I remember being caught off guard. Not that anyone's not wanted a photo, but it's the way he did it. And then he posted it. And he just put a statement on there. And I'm like, he has no idea. He's going to have an idea when I tell him I said this. But just how important he made me feel in our job and what we do. Because it's a fortune-telling job. That's what I tell people. It really, I mean, not to be, it's a funny word to use, but you're fortune telling, because that photographer is the most artistic person, and you are navigating around them with, is the pup going to be okay in this? And they look at you, but they can't always talk to you because they're in client
Right.
mode. It's
Exactly.
a silent partnership, especially with you too. When we're in front of people, it's not that I can't ask questions. I feel so open to ask questions, but there's times in those moments where it's really important to be able to get that vision out and then take those photos, and they're natural for the client. So you can't really stop. And when I always ask permission to be transparent in those moments, even if I know I could go, I don't. I just like to ask, I just got to, I'm really going off segment, but I have a vision board, and it's got a lot on it. And I just this last year, and I know you know these people, so I'm going to say them all. Ken Drake, Jamie Loren, and Emily Jane. Okay, those three people, Ken was to work with again. Emily Jane,
Yep.
and
They're
Jamie
incredible.
Loren. I mean,
Yeah,
these
they're
are,
incredible in their craft.
yeah. And Paul Morse. Let me say, I'm trying to feel like I'm really going down. But they've been on my vision board, and I did all of them this year. And it was, and I'm not meaning that anything other than what a break to work in their presence with a pup, and the level of where those photos went to. For me, it was, I just came home and said, like, how do I keep going there? Because this feels so different. And there's been, listen, every photographer I'm obsessed with. So I don't want to detour, but I'm saying these are people that I just haven't had the experience. And
You look
I
up
watch
to
them and I follow, and
I do too.
it's and they know. I mean, I feel like if they get one more message from me, they're gonna block me. All four of those people are gonna block me. But I just, and can I say one more thing? I think it's the way they made me feel in my job. Because I've had jobs where people reported to me, and you stick your arm out and you always want to try and help. I'm that person too. I want it both ways, and I feel like knowing that they were so gracious, and they let me, all of them. There was one time I was with Jamie Loren, and we were taking photos outside the Chicago Culture. I said, "Can I jump in?" And she was like, "Yes." Like she gave me this like ferocious yes. Like I appreciated that, because this is a different level of where these events are going to, and not that they weren't before. I've been very lucky in this job, right out of the gate, because I got lucky with a lot of breaks. But to have three things move off your vision board, where it's pretty electric.
Pretty impressive.
It is electric. Yeah. And you, Missy, when I got your email and Payne's email, I mean, I wrote it all caps. I think, like, I don't even know what to do with myself right now. It's not even just doing a podcast. Can I tell you what it is? It's that, like, when Crate and Barrel reached out to me, it's that somebody thought of you. That they were somewhere and they thought about you and your business, and they're like, yeah, let's do this. Let's reach out to her. Like, if you could bottle that, it's just, I don't know. It's indescribable to me a lot. I really do say it a lot, but I think being an entrepreneur is, it's an extravagant feeling, but it's a hard one. And those moments really push you forward. They just projectile you forward, because when I got the email, I'm like, look at Lauren, like, just putting all this out there for me and letting me have a chance to talk about my business and just all of our amazing clients and those little, fur balls we deal with. I love them. So I'm appreciative of you. I want to make sure I say it.
Well, thank you. I know how you're so passionate about what you do, and that really comes through. I know how hard you work, and we're a team, and I really feel like there's a lot of moving parts on wedding day, and your role is super important. What would you say? Because I feel like some couples are on the fence sometimes having their pet a part of their special day. What would you say to those couples? Would you, the ones that are on the fence? Because I'm always like, do it, because especially now that I know you and I have you as a resource, I'm like, we can make this happen. It's going to be seamless, because I know I have you who's an expert. What would you tell those couples? Because there's probably people listening that are like, oh, I'd like my dog there, but I don't know how it's going to work out.
It is a really good question. And I do think we get asked that a lot. And I think that the part is, even if you have to go meet them, it's meet them. I just had a client that the planner reached out to me and said, let see if you could get it. It's an end of 2025 wedding. So that's a long time away.
Yeah.
That's a year and a half. And I did. I went out to meet her because they were very worried. And I get the worry. I met the pup, and I explained in the process of really, I'm not trying to say, I wear this crown, but after this many weddings in time, you really, really your knowledge and expertise weighs in these moments. And when the moments change of what the wedding day is going to look like, or weather changes, or dramatic changes, you have the confidence to your decision. I know what to do. And
think
so
quickly and act
yeah.
quickly.
And so I explained to them, this is what we would do in this moment. And they were worried about, because this wedding may be some, in their family wouldn't be as understanding. There's a pup there, and they don't want to lose sight of the elegance and how they want their wedding to be showcased. But I said, sometimes dogs are at weddings and the guests never saw the dog.
That's true.
It's a bridal suite. It's a groom suite, or groom and groom, or bride and bride. And then goes the first look, home. Those are 3 very big times to take photos. Those are very monumental times in the day of a wedding. And so when you are in those 3 pillars, I call them, and then the dog goes home, people later see wedding photos and they're like, when was the dog here? And that does happen a lot. And that's just you educating them and helping them make the best choice. And I feel like I keep selling that, but I really do think that comes with experience. Because even if you're a trainer, weddings are different. This is a different energy a dog is using. It is completely different than anything I've ever seen. You have to really have the rhythm of weddings and what they look like, and the dog and the client and the speed of the day, and know, how do I have the conversation when maybe the dog's a senior dog, he's 16 and they want him to walk 2 miles. That's not happening. That generally isn't the best process. So how do we navigate around that? So we never say no, but we explain very graciously a better way, a better strategy for, this dog. So I think it's just giving them the encouragement to make the best decision for their dog and the day. And once you start saying ideas, they're so excited, because again, why we don't take any services till this is over. They have never worked with a dog chaperone. This is a different business now. And, 8 years ago, there was not a million people doing this. Now there's a ton of great companies doing this. But, you still have to have a little experience. That's why when I started, I reached out to anyone that had email that had dog in it. They basically got an email from me. One of them was in Boston, Danielle, and for the love of pause. And her and even just knew there's a girl in Florida, Regina. She runs an amazing Facebook page. It's all these companies. Let me tell you something. You could be on that. She started it 5 years ago. We're all in it. She's got, she's Tampa based, and everyone's in there. And when you look at the experience in there, you cannot shudder when you see a brand new person 2 years in the job, because guess what? They've got fresh views, fresh mindsets. There's all that great creativity. They can use other people too for the experience in this group we work off of and learning each other. It's a private Facebook group, but you learn they'll ask questions where I'll sidebar sometimes with someone, say, hey, do this. And they're like, and again, with experience, but again, the newbies, they like photographers, planners, and dog chaperones. The new people got these new engines of ideas. You got to be really open to it, or you can't keep growing. It's part of it. But if a client feels, to wrap that question up, if they don't feel they're adamant, I encourage other photos, engagement photos, shower photos. If there's really, if we get to a place where I don't feel like maybe this is the job for either one of us, for them, the dog, or I, in best case scenario, I do encourage other things, because that's going to make the day and them appreciate me more. Let me bring the dog to your shower instead. That's a little less of an extravagant event, but still
still feeling part of, 2 families coming together.
Yeah.
So will you typically meet with the couple and their pet? Will there be 1-2 visits before wedding day? You probably have different recommendations too, based on the logistics of the day. And
that's a big question. And it's a really smart question. I'm going to say why. I do 1 or 2 usually. It's a lot, I'm sure. And I meet every person. And then my dog chaperone partner team that works for me, we go again. And they meet her, and I'm in the logistics of all of it. Itineraries, I scout the location, I will go, I walk it. I am part of that entire process, whether I'm at that wedding or not. The only time I don't take weddings is if I'm already booked at a wedding.
So how far in advance would you recommend couples reach out to you before their wedding day to get you involved in the conversation and part of that timeline planning?
We don't sometimes have the jurisdiction over that generally. And why I say that is, if a planner gets signs on, normally the planner then proposes our company, and that could be a year out and longer. We have ones right now for 2026 and 2027. So if the planner or the photographer is in that, lead, they will definitely, in that case, take the lead to either propose us. If it's somebody that reaches out to me, I do the reverse. I have a call and I ask who the planner is, photographer. Sometimes they book us first. And, that's where I'm able to also share my colleagues, you and just amazing people that I get to work with. So that is an exciting part of me being in the business a long time, that I get to also share my Rolodex in a sense with them.
Yeah.
But
so
a year and a half out, we get to meet them once or twice, if not more. Sometimes it's been more if the dog is, maybe they're feeling like their dog isn't, they want them to know us better. We put that time in. And that is really, I lean into that. It's very important for that dog and that client to feel secure that they are they're our partner and the dog's comfortable, jump in the car and all of those feelings. But it could be 3 weeks out, it just depends on, we work fast. I try, and I don't get too many of those anymore. 3 weeks is usually I just booked one yesterday for November 30th, and I'm super excited to do it, but we're going to move faster. And if we have to go more in a shorter time, we will still offer that same service. It's important for that dog to know us and the client to walk into. I mean, this is truly a marriage for us too, and we are really a partner to them when everything else is moving at the wedding. We're the silent partner, like you saw going to the hotel, how much you take care of when you do leave a venue, and
I mean, these are their babies.
I won't lie. Well, everyone in your family's gonna be like, you stop that. But I would. I didn't even know that happened to you. That's so funny.
Oh, it was honestly, but it makes me, I mean, I've always valued you and what you bring to the table and what you bring for our couples, but it's a very important role. And I'm so nervous. This is their baby and you're giving them medicine. And there's a lot of things you do on wedding day to help our couples with their pets, and I even love when you do your meet and greets and you'll check in with me and send me a photo, and the couple often I always hear, we met with Julianne and we went to the park, or she came over, and everyone just
that makes me feel so good. Thank you for sharing. It's like, you just don't know. Communication is fast and furious in this life. And so it's exciting to hear the other sides of it. You trust me. And I mean, at the same time, I really want to make sure we wow you every time, because it's a silent job sometimes, I say, you trust me to go do what I need to do. And I'm appreciative of that. But at the same time, we never take that ever for granted. I mean, one more story. I did a wedding last year, Terrence, who did the marathon. I cried through their whole vows. I had to tell them.
You're so close to them.
I had to tell them, Terrence and Patrick. I had to text Terrence and say, I'm telling you right now, I think the videographer was next to me, and I think I cried through him. I was so worried. You talk about stuff you got to worry about. They were the most moving vows. I had the pup, and his name is Jameson, in my arms, and he is adorable. He's a fluffy head, and just it was at the Lingham. It was so beautiful. They're all beautiful. I keep saying that, but these vows just threw me. But then I realized, like, the videographer's right here, and they're gonna hear sniffly over here. They're like, really? We have to mute your own vows because the dog chaperone cried through it. Well, you feel close to them.
Yeah, it shows that you because if it's that touching, that means you've already built a relationship with the couple, with their pet, and you're there one of the most important days of their lives. I mean,
okay, can I tell one more story? You won't be mad.
No, I'm never mad. I love
There's another story that is so cute that I didn't know until recently, and then I was like, why would you tell me? Ben and Kevin, our other two clients, their dog Chance. And he was a part of the entire day, and he was just magnificent. But I'm driving down Halstead recently in West Loop, and I look over, I'm like, wait a minute, that's Chance. It looks like a Times Square billboard of Chance. I'm like, is that Chance? And he's like, oh yeah, he got picked to be a dog model for this whole thing on Halstead. So I'm like, I mean, those are the moments where you just sit back and you're like,
you have celebrity pets.
Amazing. He's still up. He's going to stay there for a while. They hand selected him to be the ad campaign for this veterinarian. They loved him, and there he is. So
you have celebrity pets.
We do. We really do. As long as they go number 2.
As long as they go number 2, and I don't
be known for now. I'm going to have
I don't step in it. Yeah, you gotta go number 2. Well, I want our viewers and our newly engaged couples to have your information. So if they're on the fence or just want to talk to you and do a meet and greet, what would be the best way? Of course, besides me recommending you and their planner, what would be the best way for them to contact you?
Is directly, you could call me directly actually. And I do every call, and usually when I get an email, it's quick. I contact them I email pretty quick to get on their calendar because I just like to get that correspondence going. But are we going to we can put my email and my cell on this front of the podcast, correct? But my email is it's so easy. It's Julianne at luxedognanny.com, and that goes directly to me. And then my direct cell goes directly to me. So, and even if you're on the fence, just to entertain a 10-minute call can really be the decision maker. I mean, it shouldn't be that hard though, truly. If you really try and get the expert, and there are so many of us, I don't want to count out everybody that does this. So they really will help give you that compass and guidance in making that decision. Because at the end of the day, it should be a great decision because having your dog there is so sweet and it's cute and it should have all those feelings, and just having somebody behind your pup navigating it for you.
To support you. Yeah, absolutely. And I love watching your weddings and experiences on your Instagram. Can you also share your Instagram account?
Yes, it is Luxe Dog Nanny, and it's LuxeDog Nanny, Nanny. So it's all of our social handlers are Luxe Dog Nanny. So we are we're excited, and we have we still have a couple to go before the year ends, but 2025 is an exciting year ahead. It's a good year. So we're excited what this year has brought. So, and we do more with you, my brilliant friend.
Yes. Well, thank you for joining us. And thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. And thank you to your entire team. They've been so wonderful to work with.